Well, how boring would it be if your character never changes? You can only do so many things the same way before people will go, "Oh, okay, every episode's exactly the same." Itsuno-san felt like he had ran out of ideas with Dante, and so we got this other character, Nero. I think the hardest part for me was in going in to play this version of Dante was that he is younger. And so I'm like, well, this is going to be tonally very similar. There's this reveal at the very end that's like, oh, he's been playing chess this entire time. He's been a few moves ahead of us this entire time. And then when you get to the end, it's like, wow, he just played his hand and he just won the game in an interesting way.
Many acts have perforated the anime industry, but none have done it quite like my guest. Since the early 90s, his charm and dazzling talent has accumulated into a resume with over 400 iconic projects. You've come to love him as Lelouch in Code Geass, Sasori in the Fourth Mizukage in Naruto, Bumblebee in Transformers War for Cybertron, Ichigo in Bleach, Yuri Norakami in the Persona games, and most recently as Dante in the new Netflix hit Devil May Cry. Whether it's slaying demons or singing his heart out, quality isn't a promise, it's a guarantee. Welcome to Jammore Interviews. I'm your host, Josh, aka Jammore, and please help me welcome Renaissance man and acting extraordinaire, Johnny Yong Bosch.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good.
It's so good to finally be speaking to you. I'm so happy to finally get you. It's a huge day today. Today I celebrate 5 years of this platform. So to be able
Nice.
to celebrate with someone such as yourself is such an honor. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope to make
Sure.
a great show for you.
All right, sounds good. Let's try.
Awesome. So my first question for you is, I was doing a lot of research into your growing up and just, you're born in it was it gosh, was it Missouri, right? Or was it Nebraska?
Yeah, Kansas City, Missouri.
There we go. Okay, cool. You were born in Missouri and then you moved to Texas. And of course, you're in California now, and you come from such an interesting background. So, my first question for you today is, how has your childhood environment helped mold you into the artist and person we all know today?
I mean, it absolutely contributed to that, for sure. Just the things that you go through, the good times, the bad times, things that were maybe difficult, things that weren't. You gather all those things, and that kind of becomes your arsenal. But life becomes your acting arsenal. You pull upon whatever things you've been through, and tap into certain feelings and emotions that you've experienced. But yeah, for sure. When I was younger, yeah, plenty of things to draw from.
100%. It's so interesting to see how our past informs our future a lot of the times. One of the
Yes.
biggest tips I hear from actors getting into the industry is just to live life and have your own experiences, because that's what makes you unique and in the artistry that you offer to the industry. And I think that's not only such a great tip for the industry, but just life in general. The more life you live, the more full of a person you are. There's so many careers in the world that you could have gone down and things you could have chose, and I'm curious, what about art keeps you coming back and you finding new ways to innovate? Like, what about art satisfies for you as a person?
Well, each time it's changed for me. Originally it was to be able to do martial arts action on television. So for me, it was my expression of who I am through my martial arts was different, and I felt it was different, and I felt like I could do something different. But then it eventually evolved into like, oh wait, I could do that thing with acting. And then that of course changed to like, oh, I could do the voice acting thing, and it doesn't matter what I look like. And so that opens up even more opportunity. I started a band, and it's like, oh, there's another way I can express myself musically, and my emotions in a different way. Things I wouldn't normally just talk about, I can write and sing about. So each time it's like pulling back the layers of an onion. You get to express yourself in more various ways, as you grow, and you get exposed to different things. You're like, oh, let me try this, and some things work out and are great, and then other times you adjust. Some people just want to do the one thing, and that satisfies them. Right now it's just I like doing all kinds of things, really.
You're me to both, man. I love acting. I've recently gotten into graphic design and like drawing and stuff, and that's been a new avenue for me. And then I'm getting into guitar. I don't know if you're like a fan of Linkin Park, but I have, Chester Bennington was the lead singer. I have his like actual guitar, and I'm learning on
Wow,
that. Yeah, I'm learning on that. I
that's
got it
pretty
from.
cool. Wow.
Yeah, I'm friends with one of his sons, and he gave it to me because he wants to start making music with me. So I'm just learning on that, and we're going to be learning new stuff and tricks and stuff together. So I'm very excited about what that endeavor brings. And even these interviews, has just opened so many doors for me. And it's just been really a great blessing to speak to great talent such as yourself. You mentioned your music, and I am such I gotta be honest with you. I love you as an actor, but you as a musician is just like chef's kiss. Like I love all of your music, and I'm not just saying that because you're here. I'm such a huge fan. I remember when the first single for "Where Giants Fall" came out. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was. I remember. Well, I just remember the first single came out and made me go back and look back at all the music you've done and the live performances you've done. And man, you're just so dedicated to whatever you do, and I just love that about you. I'm curious. You were touching about this a little bit, but what does music allow you to express that maybe acting doesn't really give you the opportunity to?
Well, music that's all from me directly. Like the acting, somebody else has written it, is producing it. It's somebody else's, project that they're controlling. I get to do an extension of that. I get to be an extension of that creativity, but I'm not like the sole creator of it. The music for us, that I do in my band is like I'm writing it and I'm singing it and I'm making up the songs, and so I'm seeing from an original an idea or a note or a phrase or certain progression and chords like that. I see from there to what it eventually becomes. So it's 100% more me involved in that. So that's the reward in that for me, especially when we did tour. We don't really tour anymore, but when we used to tour, and hearing people singing back lyrics that I wrote sometimes would throw me off, and because like I'd be singing it, and then I'm like, wait, this person knows the lyrics to a song I wrote, and that would like get in my head, and I'm like, wait a minute, where am I at in the song?
Right.
Because I'm like, holy cow! I mean, it's world changing, really, to then have like an immediate connection and a different kind of connection.
I'm sure that's what it's like when you go to conventions. I know you do like a
Yeah.
lot of
Mhm.
cons and stuff, and it's just so awesome to see how much love there is for you and the projects that you've inhabited. I think it's starting to change now, but I kind of get upset when there's this whole, dub versus sub debate, because there's such greatness in dubbing performances. Like there's so much that I feel like people on both sides of that debate are missing. You know what I'm saying? It's great to hear it in his native language, of course, obviously, but there are phenomenal people like you or Steve Bloom or Neil Kaplan or all the other greats in the anime industry who really put their heart and soul into these projects, and you guys really do deserve the credit and love for that. So it really does warm my heart when I see you at cons and so many people are like dressed up as like Ichigo, they go to see you and stuff. It's just awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of the reward for me. We're in the booth, we're just working on a thing, and we're putting our heart into it. We don't really know if it's going to resonate, but when you go to a convention, that's when you find out. So it's pretty rewarding. It's kind of like with the music, it's like you have that instant reward. People are cheering or whatever, or booing, maybe, but like you get that
I hope not
immediate
that.
reaction. But I've had that too.
Oh,
But you get the immediate reaction. It's not immediate reaction, with voiceover, but with the band you would, because you're live. But going to a convention, you get to have that interaction and go like, oh, okay, and then it kind of programs like, okay, this worked for that, and it made a connection. And how can I do that kind of and find a connection through another space? You know what I mean? And like, how can I bring that same kind of level of connection to people through something else? It's all just us being humans trying to connect.
absolutely. Speak on that, man. 100%. I think that's why I've loved doing this so much, is just to be able to get a little peek and connection into the world that you have and all the projects that you've brought to life. I'm just so inspired by all that you've done, and it's just really awesome. Again, to be just speaking to you, getting to talk about so much of this stuff. I want to talk more about your music because, like I said, I did do a deep dive into your music catalog. I was curious, because you were part of a band called I Shine, and of course, it's now called Where Giants Fall. What happened to I Shine, and like, how did Where Giants Fall come into play?
It's virtually the same band. It was just a name change because you get to a point where like we've had whatever it was, 15 albums or whatnot, with I Shine, and it's really kind of exploring the various different things that we could do from album to album, um, and we the our drummers kept changing out, because we're independent, and our bass players kept changing out. So like it was like really, it's like I get that I'm kind of the face of the band, but I had like originally it was like we had like a core group that was the face of the band, and then it constantly kept changing, and I felt like we needed to almost not only just like kind of not really grow up, but like adjust, like turn the page on this, go to a new chapter in our music is almost like a reboot, and go like we're still the same. It's still the
Mm,
same band, but it's no longer about you know the members that are in the band because we did for a while. We even shot like wherever we toured, we would like post videos. But then there's like when you change out members, it's like well, it becomes like a drama,
yeah,
because then not that not that no one couldn't keep following another member, but it was like, well, that's not what this should be about. It should be about the music. And then I didn't want to get lost in that. So that's why I felt like if we turn the page on this, we're still making music. It's still going to feel similar. It's the same band. Basically, I'm still writing and I'm still singing. Polo's with me. But then it
killing it
was,
too.
I also felt like, I didn't want to play the same songs. There was a lot of people wanted us to play like from our first album, which is fine. But I didn't want to play that song anymore. It was like, I don't mind playing it every once in a while, but I also want to like, play some other stuff. I didn't want to be beholden to playing the same like original songs, which, maybe it resonated for people, but I also wanted to, to explore new things, and not be stuck playing the same four chords, that at first, and then when I was, teaching myself how to play, I'm like, it's all right. It's okay. It worked, but I want to do something different.
Right, like I've evolved from this point. Let me show y'all what else I can do. I 100% feel that. There's a question I always wonder because you have so many established acts like Metallica and stuff. And, they've been playing Master of Puppets since the '80s. So I wonder what that's like for a musician to just keep playing the same song. And you grow as you artist. So I don't know. I'm so curious what that life is like. And thank you for adding that insight because it's such an interesting one. I know you were speaking about songs. I'm curious about this. What's your favorite song that you've written so far and why?
um, I'm I don't know if I really have a favorite song. I like a lot of them. Usually the ones that I end up liking are the ones that end up on an album or we release. But I kind of just across the board. I guess if I look back at I Shine alone would be one that was just
Nice.
I was just having this is like a chord progression and lyrics started popping in my head when I was like half asleep, and so I woke up and started writing them down. And then the band they were out hanging out, and they walked in as I was writing. I was like, "Hey, you guys want to check this song out?" And then they listened to it. They're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then I remember Alex at the time, and then Maurice would start banging on it, the guitar cases, and I was like, "Hey, maybe we should play this tomorrow night." And they're like, "Okay." And so we just kind of want like we just did it. We were just like, "Let's just play it live and see what happens." And then it connected in a weird way, and it felt good. And so we're like, okay, we did that a lot too. There's a lot of just us just winging it, or coming up with a song on the spot. A lot of like just making things up. Um, because you just wanted to explore that, but yeah, that one I guess I'd say alone would be, yeah.
That's a great one. I gotta agree. I mean, like you, I love so much of the songs that you've helped written and produced. There's just too many for me to pick. But someone that you play that is a big fan of music, I guess in the films at least, is Bumblebee and Transformers War
Uh,
for Cybertron. I love what you did for those games. One of my favorite game series of all time. I just love that trilogy, I guess. Yeah, trilogy, because they released three of them in the same universe. I'm curious, how did you create Bumblebee's voice, and what do you remember from recording the game?
well, see, recording the game, that was just a script, a page full of dialogue, and it was all, you know, it's kind of, well, not in one go, but it was all just, we didn't see any animation. So it was just kind of trying to find. At first, it was like, where's the voice at? Um, who is the character? Because there's so many different versions of Bumblebee, even that I remember when I was younger.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, what is this? Where's this taking place in his story, in this whatever we're creating, not about like whatever's been done before, but like where is he at, like who is he? And once you find that and you find the voice, then you just kind of lock into something that feels right or that you can connect to, and then you kind of go from there, you know um, and yeah, so there's not a whole lot to it. I just remember the initial excitement of like, holy cow, I get to voice Bumblebee. That's pretty sweet. But then you remove that real quickly so that you can, tap
focus on the
into
character.
the character. Yeah, yeah.
Were you surprised when they didn't bring you back for the next one?
No, because I knew the games kind of like got rid of the voice, and I kind of assumed, maybe they're going that direction. Maybe they're tying it into the movies. Um, it's and also that's just kind of the business too. Sometimes you get to continue on a role, and sometimes you don't. My very first role, I replaced someone without even knowing I was replacing someone. Yeah, the Black Ranger. I didn't know. I just thought I was going to be a Power Ranger. I didn't know I was replacing Walter. Um, so yeah, you just kind of go into it and hope for the best. I'm fine with it though, because I had a good time working on that game. You know.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like you said, my friend actually told me this last night because me and him are both big Transformers fans. They were trying to do this own continuity thing. They were trying to follow the TV shows at the time and the books. They were trying to make this whole massive like connected universe, but a lot of the pieces weren't fitting and some of the producers weren't agreeing on stuff. So that's why this sudden, Bumblebee can't talk thing happened.
Mm.
Really sucks because I really wanted, like you said, it's the industry, but I really think you did a really good job with Bumblebee. There's a lot of characters you played where I'm just like, yeah, that's a Johnny Young Bosch character. Like he would kill that and eat it up. And Bumblebee is one of them. Transformers is a massive franchise, but anime in general is just such a massive thing now. It's like such a part of the pop culture psychosis. So many people love anime, and you've done so many projects in anime. So my question is, what's been your favorite aspect of the world of anime that maybe other franchises or properties don't really bring to you, or are just different?
I don't know. I mean, each I mean, the only reason why I think I'm doing anime is because I couldn't keep doing on camera. I had a hard time back in the day. Now, I mean, I've done a few more things and I've got a few things coming up, but
Excited.
there was a time when I was being sent out for a very specific Asian character role, Chinese guy or whatever, right? And so I was kind of there. When you get like the casting calls back then in the 90s, it was very specific, Asian guy, Chinese guy, and then so I'd go there and I just did not look Asian enough for the role. And also I think my acting ability wasn't that great either, but also felt like with Power Rangers as my credit, initially, as soon as I walked in there, it was like, oh, Power Ranger. Like they didn't want to hear it. So
Yeah.
I felt that at a few of them, which kind of really was a bummer. And I felt like, wow, I don't. I don't think I can continue acting. And that's where I kind of like transitioned into just starting to play music. But thankfully, I got into voiceover, and that really opened up the doors for me because then it was like, wait, no, I can continue acting. It doesn't matter what I look like as long as I can provide the right voice for this character, you know. So again, so that's where you know my focus became like, well, I guess I'm just going to keep doing this, you know, because this is working, you know, like I'm able to do this. And so I auditioned for as much as I could, and and didn't say no to many things. I just was like, all right, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, I'll play.
And play you have, man. Well, I want to talk about Naruto now, which is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I think Naruto really helped me during the COVID pandemic because me and my friend both started around the same time watching that show. And man, that's such a
During the pandemic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We watched it at
Oh,
the
you
same
never
time
watched
together.
it until the pandemic.
Not until the pandemic, no.
Wow. Okay.
I know. I tell
Okay.
one of my friends watched Naruto when it like premiered, and
Hmm.
he was like shocked when me and him both told him, "Oh yeah, we don't know what Naruto."
That that's wild. I mean, that's cool. Yeah. That's the neat thing about I think the one good thing I think really is like people had time to be able to watch things and play games, and it really got into stuff that you didn't, or you skipped on. You're like, oh, I never watched this. Let me check this out,
Yeah, no, we watched a bunch. We also watched. Want to talk about this a little bit briefly, but we also watched Code Geass together too. We got to
Nice.
check that
Okay.
out. Such a good show. God, oh gosh, Lelouch is like, oh my god! Like, oh, I love that character. But before I get off of Naruto, I know you were in the original Naruto series when he was younger. So I'm curious, what was your experience transitioning from OG Naruto to Shippuden and bringing Sasori to life? Such a cool character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I voiced like, I don't know, 15, somewhere in between there, 16, 17 characters,
Yeah, you did a.
just randomly dying in the background. And then Genma was one that was like, he was kind of the guy with the toothpick. He was around for a bit, but then he like, I don't know, he quit. I don't know what happened. He just stopped showing up. Um, and then I got Sasori, who was a great character for me to play. And yeah, it was just one of those ones where they kept making more games, and so I was like, oh, cool, I get to come back as Sasori in this one, and then whatever's going on in the story to be able to come back to him. Yeah, so it was a great character to play for sure. Yeah, I do wish that he was around a little bit longer though.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
hundred and
like
ten
ah,
percent agree.
he's got to
I
go out
l-
like that.
oh my gosh, yeah. I thought it was so cool the little twist though, because it's set up like Sasori is like this guy with the tail, and then it
Mm,
comes out as kind of like this Wizard of Oz thing where he's like
yeah.
he made it. Such an interesting backstory with that, and that's kind of like a through line with a lot of your characters that you've been blessed to play, is that a lot of them have like this sort of like plot twist thing that you don't expect come out of them. They kind of start out one way and it turns out to be a whole other way. What, in your opinion, makes stories such as that, kind of starting out as something then different than they end up as, such a compelling story to tell?
I mean, I think it. Well, how boring would it be if your character never changes? You
Yeah.
know, um, you can only do so many things the same way before people will go, "Oh, okay, every episode's exactly the same." You know,
Right. Yeah.
and I think that works for a younger audience, like Power Rangers. It's very like, oh, we're gonna have a monster, it's gonna grow big, then we're gonna have to fight it. That kind of it works in that sense, in a younger, or if you just want something that feels comfortable and safe to watch every single time, it's fine. But I do find it much more interesting to see a character that kind of like has some kind of growth, and if you know what that is going to be, you can kind of plot, where things are changing. If you don't know, or if the director won't let you, you get to experience those things happen. When a certain character dies or whatever, then that pushes like Lelouch getting pushed further into who he is. And so there's, having those kind of moments are really fun. It's really nice to see, and also just to be able to I'm thinking of Adachi right now. You have Adachi in the Persona game. This one guy, oh, who's this guy? And then completely flip at the end, and you're like, "Whoa, okay." So that so much more fun to play. Um, and so yeah, just in general, I guess it's just more fun to play, really.
100%. Let's get into Lelouch, man. This is probably my favorite role I think you've ever done. I really love where this character went. I really love what you brought to the character, and it's just been so interesting to see what they've done with the world of Code Geass and all the other movies and spin-offs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's been so interesting to watch and enjoy from the original series because it's so funny. I remember when I started watching Code Geass with my friend Alex. Um, we were like, man, there's like a lot of movies through this. We gotta watch these Code Geass movies and stuff and see what happens with Lelouch and stuff. What about Lelouch's story resonated with you the most and made him such a compelling character to begin with?
Well, I think what really he was just kind of interesting because he's your protagonist, but he's the antagonist. And I joke every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, it's like the Breaking Bad of anime. You're following this character's descent, basically. Um, but there's just some real the story was just well done. You have this guy, he's a chess player, and then that's kind of a thing that he does throughout, but then he really like there's this reveal at the very end that's like, oh, he's been playing chess this entire time. He's been a few moves ahead of us this entire time. And then when you get to the end, it's like, wow, he just played his hand and he just won the game in an interesting way, without spoiling it for people that are watching this. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's like, I don't, it's because I didn't really, I watched a few of the episodes. I found him in Spanish somewhere. So I kind of cheated to try to figure out what was going on in the story. But our director, Kevin, didn't really want to give us all the info. So then I was mostly like, okay, let me just experience it as it came up, because he wanted more of like a fresh reaction, so the acting would be kind of raw in whatever moments, which I think was better for this for sure. So yeah, and I kind of liked that actually, and I got to sort of live through Lelouch's experience, even though I didn't agree with some of his choices at certain moments. But then in the long run, I was just kind of like the way it wrapped up in season two at the end. I was pretty pleased with it. Yeah,
That's awesome, man. I know you have to go soon. Can I ask,
yeah,
do you mind if I ask two more questions?
sure, go for it. Yeah,
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. Devil May Cry. I
yeah.
just finished that. That was great. You did
Thanks, man.
great. I
Thanks for checking
emailed
that.
you. I emailed you and I was like, yeah, man, I know you're gonna knock it out of the park, and you did. You did really great. It's my first experience with the world of Devil May Cry, and I find it so interesting that you actually originally auditioned for Dante for the Devil May Cry games, and I'm curious, from what you can remember, because I know the Devil May Cry games have been out for a very long time. How did your voice, as you originally auditioned with for Dante, change for the show?
Well, when I auditioned for DMC 3, it was to do the motion capture as well. So it was, they needed somebody who could physically do the motions and action as well as the voice or whatever, right? And so it was the chance to play Dante, but you'd go to Japan and do all the motion capture. And so I didn't get it then. And it wasn't until four when I auditioned for a new character in Devil May Cry, who ends up becoming basically the lead of that. He's basically a young Dante. And Itsuno-san, who's, had basically produced and it was in control of all that, felt like he had ran out of ideas with Dante. Felt like they did the most they could in DMC3. He's very overpowered already, and so you kind of need to somehow find a way to shave that down so a new audience has some and the character has some growth. And so we got this other character, Nero, who was essentially a young Dante, which was my big problem when I was working on it in Japan. Shimomura-san is the director, the action director. I remember going up to him and saying, hey, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like every dialogue piece, and everything's exactly like Dante, and of course he's Japanese, right? And he speaks some English, but I'm like rambling on all these like, should I do this or should I do that? And he's like stops me. He's like, Johnny, you are Nero, and just kind of walks away. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what that means really, but I think I need to own the role, and
Yeah.
just do what is true to the character in the moments. And what I felt going through that character was just the emotional change. Like he's very young and naive and emotional, really, just in general. Like he's a young kid. Dante is different. I think the hardest part for me was in going in to play this version of Dante was that he is younger, you know. And so I'm like, well, this is going to be tonally very similar. And I went through all the cinematics, the game cinematics, and watched the original anime, and I'm like, well, in various ones, he's older, his tone is different, and I actually redubbed all of DMC3 like 4 or 5 different ways. I just went through and I dubbed it over. I did what was done, and then I did my version of a few different ways, and then I found some characteristics in the voice, but it wasn't the same because it's not the same. Like our version of Dante is younger. He's not as experienced. There are certainly similarities, but I can't do what I was hearing. Um, Unless we get through a few things for the character. Like the character has to go through some stuff to be able to become that character that people are familiar with from the games. Um, which I feel like doing only 8 episodes is not enough to get to that point. And I'm like, we're not quite there yet. We need a few seasons to get to even what I want to play. So it's a starting point, really. So I think that's a long way of answering your question. It's a long road to answer it. I'm not
No,
even
no,
sure if I
no.
answered it. It's a journey, really. This character is going to be a journey, and hopefully we get enough seasons out of him to be able to, go through. There's so much. Like I have so much written down, like in my study of the character, and then realizing, well, it opens up the character a bit more, him being younger and not really knowing certain things. And so to try to like I can't do what even I'm familiar with from Ruben because I worked with him, and seeing how he would play the character. I can't do exactly that, not yet. I can't do things like that yet, basically. So, anyways, it was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully we get more out of it.
100% agree. I know there were some criticisms of how
Yeah,
Dante is in the show, but I kind of view it. I always viewed it as what you were saying, and even watching the interview with you guys at Collider, um, Eddie was talking about. This is a starting point for these characters. They're younger. This is it's we have to just wait. So just
yeah.
wait. We just gotta
Well, I
wait
mean,
to get to
it's
the.
not. I mean, it is younger, but it's also. I mean, it's different. It's not 1-to-1 with the games. First off, um, but yeah, I can really speak to my character, although I do know some of the other characters and where they are at. But for mine specifically, there's a lot of notes to be taken. It's like, all right, well, he's raised by his mother, right? So that's gonna make him vulnerable to certain things. And he's also doesn't know. I mean, he finds out, but he doesn't know really in the beginning who he is. He knows he's got these superhuman abilities, but for all he knows, this is what's been given to him to be able to combat these things. So there's a lot of these things you have to think about, and maybe he lets his guard down around women more so. So there's a lot of things that you think about as an actor. It's like, well, who is this person? Why is he making these choices? Does he get bored? Yeah, he does get bored at certain things. Does that mean that he allows himself to get into situations out of boredom? We haven't. I mean, they say stuff like he quit things because he's bored. Well, we've yet to see those kind of things. I'm boring you right now. You're yawning
Oh
with
no,
my
no, I'm not.
conversation, but
No, no,
but
no,
anyways,
no.
this is just the things that you go through as you like, especially if it's not something like it's kind of new. So you kind of like gather up like all this kind of, again, I always say like an arsenal, but it's like, I have all of this weaponry that I can choose from. And, when the story is laid out, it's like, what am I allowed choose and use based on what's in front of me. Um, and so projective, I already know where he's gonna go, you know, and I kind of already know where the story outlines, you know. So of course I know a lot more than people online know about, the
Ah,
story, and so
yeah.
that doesn't mean it won't change or can't change. um, what I find interesting though is that a lot of people that have only played like one game or aren't super familiar, they dig it. They've really enjoyed it.
I have to be, I've never played the game and I genuinely like had such a fun time with this show. And it's so interesting cuz I'm just seeing so much of the dialogue online and I'm trying to get into people's heads. I've been asking all of my friends who play Devil May Cry like, what did you not enjoy because me personally like I really liked it. Like I had
Yeah,
so much fun. I love what you added to Dante in this series. I love your dynamic with like Lady is so cool. Like you guys together, I really want to see that bond grow. Like I really love what was established
yeah,
here. So it's so like you said, I don't know if it's because I didn't play the games. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. I just really like this, and I really can't wait. Hopefully, I'm hoping that Netflix is like, hey, I mean, it's trending really well, so Netflix would be stupid not to go
yeah. I mean,
season
I
two.
I, I think as far as numbers, they're pretty happy with the way things are
That's
going.
good.
But it does. I do actually understand where some of the fans are coming from because they want, it to be exactly the same as the games. But that also leaves us kind of locked into a certain thing, and doesn't allow us to explore different things in the character. Because then, the, really, like if I it's you've already got a Dante that's OP, and throughout. I want to see him become that, you know? Like, or
I
at least for
agree.
me to be able to play that, to be able to get to that point is going to be so much more rewarding than if he's already that way, we have the 2007 anime, which I enjoy as well. But
I
it
gotta
is
check that out
it's
too.
very much like this kind of, well, the monster of the week. Yeah, you got this monster, he's got to defeat that. Yeah, and so each one is like that, and it's like, all right, that's okay, but it doesn't really give your character a lot of growth. One thing I will say, and I know I got to go here too. I've got another interview coming up, but
Oh, okay.
is at the end of the anime, the 2007 anime, there was this, there's it looked like still images of Dante sitting there like drinking, right? But then I noticed the fan is spinning and then there's a song playing that doesn't feel like a song from Devil May Cry would that it would even fit in this world, but it works. It's like, I think it's called I'll Be Your Home or something like that. And so it speaks so much into like what he's feeling in those moments, how alone he is and how much pain he has gone through to get to who he is in those moments. We never got to see him get to that point. And
Mm.
so that's what I feel like will be really cool. Sorry, this thing keeps cutting out.
You're good.
That to get to that point will be much more, a lot more fun for me to play than to already be there and be like, oh, yeah, okay, he went through some dark things, and that's he. But I want to see that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I want to see that, and you do see it you see glimpses of it, of course, with his brother and some of his flashbacks, but you don't really get to see him experience, you know, um, people, leaving him or abandoning him and that sort of stuff, and he's felt like he's failed, even save to protect his mom. So he's got this like kind of like desire to protect humans as well. So there's a lot of this in there that he's battling with this, and then now that he knows that he's part demon, he's got to deal with that internally as well. So it'll be an interesting journey if we can get through a few more seasons for sure.
A
I
hundred
enjoyed it. I had
percent.
a lot of fun, and I know that I want to get Ruben and Dan in on this at some point too.
Yeah.
Talk to them about it. Ruben moved off to Japan though. He's doing his thing, but
Oh, I didn't. That's
yeah, yeah,
crazy.
he's got his thing going on over there. We're gonna drag him back though, I'm sure. I'd love to see another game, but
I would too,
my
man.
concern is the way that some of the DMC fans, like the way they react initially to things is always kind of like a,
Like
you
a
know
shock.
yeah, it's like even with
Yeah.
Nero, it's like, no, we hate this guy. It took like 2 years for them to warm up to him, and then even like five, it was like they didn't like the way that the characters looked at first. Um, the gameplay usually is what wins them over. Even with DMC3, it was like, oh, he's too young, he's flamboyant. What's going on? But then the gameplay and the story was awesome. So they're like, okay. So hopefully in some time will pass and we'll get a few more seasons under our belt and people will warm up to this new iteration. Maybe they won't. Um,
Only
what
time will
bothers me is
tell.
when I hear both things, like people say, and I'm rambling, but
You
I
can.
didn't like people saying that the show was going to be woke before even seeing it, and then afterwards calling it right wing propaganda. So it's like, well, what is it? It's like, come on. It's like it almost felt like some people just want to attack it, or attack people that like it, and that really bothers me,
I
because
100% agree. I hate where we are in a culture right now where people could just throw those labels around and be so hateful and mean and rude and not really understand the meat of the story that you guys are trying to tell. I hate that. Even with the new Assassin's Creed game, people were attacking it. They're like, "Oh, it's woke. They got this black and I'm just like, "Bro, can y'all play the game, judge it
yeah,
for yourself and see what's going to happen?" Let's stop this reactionary like we were just talking about. That shocks. Let's stop that shock and experience it. Play the game. If you don't like it, fine. At least you played the game. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we see all these pushbacks with actors. Even I know Troy Baker got a lot of hate for The Last of Us Part 2. And now with the show coming out, I'm seeing a lot of love for The Last of
it's
Us
it's
Part
real
2.
strange. It's a new it's kind of where the culture is, where we are right now. Is to it's a strange place to be, and I don't really like. I don't know. I guess I'm not that, like, I don't really go. I just go on and I'm like, hey, this was fun. But me saying, hey, this was fun is gonna make somebody say, no, you're wrong, and it's like, but I can still enjoy it, I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's okay for you to feel that way and have your opinion, but man, like, I don't know. I guess I'm a bit old school. I'm more of like, yeah, I'm just doing this as an actor, and it's a fun ride, it's a fun character to play, and I'm just trying to, like, be this character in this moment, and I didn't expect it to, like, rub somebody the wrong way,
Right.
and I feel like, man, sorry that you didn't like it, but please don't attack people that do. You're allowed to have it, and I don't know. I think we're reading into it more than it should be. It's just a show, you know.
It's a
It's just a
show. It's just a
show,
game.
you
It's just
know.
another thing to add to your
Yeah.
day.
But I guess
Um,
they have been wronged. They've been wronged in some things. So I do also at the same time. That's my problem, is I can always see both sides of a coin, and I can
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
see. Yeah, some things have been done wrong and other things, but give us a little more time.
100%. Well, Johnny,
Sorry to bounce out of here. I
I
do have
know,
another interview I
I
got to do
know.
here.
I just want to say before you go again, thank you so much. This has been such a long time coming. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you not only for speaking with me today, but for everything you've given to the entertainment world. I'm so excited for what you do next. And truly, thank you so much for speaking with me. This meant more to me than you will ever know. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you, and I know you've been emailing every once in a while, and it's gone through my agents and whatever else, but finally had some time today. This is my day off, actually. I don't ever have days off, and I got a
Oh,
day off. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'll squeeze in a few interviews here. So I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for, checking out the show. I am sure that we'll have more to come.
absolutely. I'll see you at MomoCon this year, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I just got my flights arranged for that one.
I'm so excited. I got
Okay.
I got I got press passes for that one, so I'm excited to be doing some
Excellent.
fun stuff there. So
Nice. Well, I'll see you there then. Are you going to cosplay?
I'm gonna try. 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 Don't
All
hold me
right.
to it, because I've said that the
Bumblebee? You're going to
past.
do a Bumblebee cosplay?
I
The
got like
hardest thing.
yeah. It's just get like a bunch of cardboard and
Right.
put it on
Yeah.
myself.
Hey, I've seen some stuff that's been pretty impressive,
I have too. Oh my god, they kill this stuff, man. These
Yeah.
cosplayers, y'all
Yeah.
are too dedicated. Well, Johnny, thank you so much. Have a
Yep.
great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, man. You take
Have
care.
a good one. You too. Thank you. Bye.